and my pleasure to introduce our board president, Barbara Rosencotter, to start the 2025 annual meeting.
Thank you, Liz. Hello and welcome. This year, the San Juan Preservation Trust celebrates its 46th year. Thank you for joining us this evening. I hope you're settling in for our annual meeting with a cup of tea or coffee or one of those crazy, really loud pieces of candy with the wrapper. With the nice spring weather, I hope you have been able to get out recently and visit your favorite preserve. So our land acknowledgement, we acknowledge that today we are on part of the ancestral and contemporary territories and waterways of many Coast Salish peoples. Since time immemorial to this day, we acknowledge their rights, responsibilities, and enduring connection to this place. We are learning from their stories, understanding our linked history, and working to build mutually respectful, reciprocal relationships around our shared aim of conserving and restoring lands and waters. I want to briefly acknowledge the uncertainty and challenges occurring nationally and internationally. We're all aware that there are many challenges that we are seeing in the world and our country. We do not live in isolation, even here in the San Juans. There are many things vying for our attention, but it is important to take time away from all the things that are distracting us and grabbing our attention. The British author and journalist Oliver Burkeman recently noted, "The realm of national and international events is important, but it is not a place to live. It's a place to visit. It's fine to go there, but after you have voted or organized or whatever it is that you feel you should do, then come back to the world of your immediate surroundings." I believe the saying, "think global, act local," has persisted for a long time as it just makes sense. And I think even more so here in the San Juans. We feel and know that we can have an impact in this community. I suspect that is why there are so many not-for-profits in the San Juans. People know and have the experience of making a difference here. Perhaps we should try to focus a bit more on our immediate surroundings and communities. Not only is it more pleasant, but the chance of making a positive difference to the world is much greater if you start closer to home. Edmund Burke said that nobody made a greater mistake than he who did nothing because he could only do a little. In this time of uncertainty, what can we do? What do we do? Consistent action done in collaboration creates change. With your commitment and support, the Trust has been working to protect the San Juan Archipelago for over 46 years now and will continue to do so. San Juan Preservation Trust mission is very localized, and it always has been. The mission of the San Juan Preservation Trust is to conserve the natural beauty, vital ecosystems, and unique character of the San Juan Islands for future generations, care for the lands and waters under our protection with our partners, and connect people to nature, to each other, and to the Preservation Trust. Connection and community sustain us, so seek in-person connections. Attend events. The Trust has several events to choose from, and I encourage you to attend and participate. You can find them on our website. We at the Preservation Trust continue to do the work we have been doing for 46 years, protecting and restoring our special island places. That may feel insufficient at times compared to the enormity of the issues occurring around the country and the world. But it matters, being even a small part of a solution to a large problem. Small actions do add up. They have inherent value and impact, contributing something positive to the world. We appreciate your membership and support to advance the San Juan Preservation Trust mission. It is valued by us at the Trust and by our community, and that impact will be for many decades to come. Remember that our work is in perpetuity. Today, we will provide an overview regarding the work that the Trust has undertaken over the past year and show your support in action to advance our mission of conserve, care, and connect. Now, I want to acknowledge and thank all of our current board members. They are a wonderful, fun, smart group of dedicated volunteers. There isn't enough time to acknowledge all of their efforts, but I encourage you to visit the San Juan Preservation Trust website to learn more about our current board members. I extend a personal thank you to each and every one of our board members. It is a joy, an absolute joy, to work with all of you. Thank you. And now, please welcome Tom Cowan, Chair of the Nominating and Governance Committee, who will share the board election results. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Barbara. And first, I want to extend a huge thank you to our San Juan Preservation Trust 2024 officers. Along with numerous specific responsibilities, our 4 officers also serve on the executive committee, so they each devote a considerable amount of time ensuring that our organization runs smoothly. Thank you, Sarah Hart, for being our secretary for the past 6 years. Thank you, Nancy Green and Eric Anderson, for not only serving as our current vice president and treasurer, but for being willing to continue as officers, as I will announce in a few minutes. It's especially important to give a special shout out to Barbara Rosencotter as our outgoing president. Barbara has served the past 3 years as our president and the prior 3 years as our vice president, 6 whole years of selflessly serving as a leader of San Juan Preservation Trust. All of the board of directors and staff are so appreciative of the hundreds of hours you have dedicated to helping San Juan Preservation Trust be the great organization that it is. Sincerely, Barbara, you are amazing. Next, I want to announce the results of our election for board of directors by our membership. The election was held by electronic vote this April and May, and we received a total of 199 votes, surpassing the 10% threshold required by our bylaws and Washington State nonprofit law. New board member Jamie Stevens was elected to serve his first 3-year term, and Eric Anderson, Sarah Hart, Pete Kilpatrick, Barbara Rosencotter, and Phil Sherburne were elected to serve additional 3-year terms. Congratulations and thanks to each of you for your willingness to serve. I do want to note that Jamie is in Washington, D.C. representing the Trust at the Land Trust Alliance Advocacy Days, or otherwise would be attending this meeting. Finally, the Nominating and Governance Committee presents this proposed slate of officers for the upcoming year to be voted on by the Board of Directors at our June meeting. For President, Nancy Green. Vice President, John Howell. Secretary, Robin Reed, and Treasurer, Eric Anderson. Thank you all for your willingness to serve. It is now with real pleasure that I introduce Angela Anderson, our Executive Director, to review some of the accomplishments of the San Juan Preservation Trust over the past year. Angela leads our excellent staff of employees who are the ones that make the Trust successful. The work of the Trust is very important and surprisingly difficult, and we are so fortunate to have Angela at the helm, ensuring our continuing success. Angela?
Thanks, Tom. Friends, it's a privilege to be gathered here today as members of the San Juan Preservation Trust, part of a community deeply rooted in purpose to care for the lands and waters of the San Juan Islands. I want to begin by acknowledging something we don't always pause to reflect on: the simple act of coming together, to meet, to talk, to decide, and to imagine. This isn't just a routine gathering. It's a powerful act of civic trust. A recent documentary entitled Join or Die focused on research of social scientist Robert Putnam and concludes that membership isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. When people don't join, don't show up, don't take part, the weave of our social fabric is weakened. We lose touch not just with one another, but with the places we care about. That's why what we do here matters, why membership matters. The Preservation Trust is more than an organization. It's a living example of what can happen when people choose to show up, to protect something together. Today is more about more than just reports and votes. It's about celebrating our collective positive impact on this special place. It's about inspiring hope and encouraging one another to continue to do our part. Thank you for being here. First and foremost, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the extraordinary staff of the Preservation Trust. Their dedication, expertise, and tireless efforts are truly the backbone of our organization. Whether it's stewarding our protected lands, engaging with our community, or managing the day-to-day operations that keep us running smoothly, each team member plays an essential role. On the next slide, you'll see all the friendly faces of our outstanding team. Believe it or not, as of April, we're 26 strong, which equates to more than doubling our staff in the past 7 years. Honestly, it's difficult to fit everyone on one slide, not to mention the challenges of getting us all in one place. Now we have staff members residing on multiple islands and on the mainland as far as Seattle. I'm humbled to lead such an incredible team. And I'm proud to announce that after 46 years, we now have a workplace in the islands that fits us. We're excited to be entering a new phase, one in which we have established, own, and occupy SJPT World Headquarters, an actual brick and mortar with ample spaces for our teams to work side by side and convene partners and supporter meetings. The move to our new headquarters located on the corner of First and Court Street in the heart of Friday Harbor just took place last week. We've got aching backs and are quite tired from the move, and it's going to take us some time to settle in, but we're looking forward to taking full advantage of this thoughtfully envisioned workspace. Special thanks go out to board member Pete Kilpatrick, who volunteered early on to aid in managing the remodel, and whose you'll hear more about later in the program. And my deep appreciation goes to our operations team, our op stars, if you will, who have done so much work behind the scenes. Over the last 2 years, Tom Tidyman, Marianne Tynan, and Stephanie Reese managed the property, the remodel, the move with professionalism and grace, while simultaneously moving through the process of transitioning us to a significantly upgraded accounting system. By the way, thank you so much, Russell, for your work in the new accounting system. I'd also like to recognize Megan Bowe, my new executive assistant, and Kelvin Baker, Director of Communications and Outreach, who are behind the scenes today assisting in this presentation. Kelvin is also the creative behind the wonderful videos that are going to be played today. You'll be seeing him a little later on as he's the host of the Q&A portion of our meeting. In the past year, together with your support, that of our partners and grantors, we advanced all 3 C's of our mission by preserving diverse landscapes, restoring native prairies, and investing in healthier forests and wetlands, and expanding learning opportunities for people of all ages. We begin with the first C of our mission. Since we last met, we've added conserved lands on Guaymas, Stewart, Orcas, and San Juan Islands. The completed projects include a 6.4 acre donated preserve on Guaymas, which boasts 415 feet of shoreline. The Sunny Point Preserve, a 7.6 acre fee donation on Stewart Island, which protects over 1,400 feet of shoreline. After 4 years of persistence, we, in collaboration with the Conservation Land Bank, completed the final phase of the North Shore Preserve on Orcas Island, ensuring the permanent protection of this 58 acre property with over 1,800 feet of publicly accessible shoreline. This has been incredible work and an incredible year. And finally, on San Juan, we preserved a very special 15.8 acre property that contains the headwaters of False Bay Creek in partnership with Gretchen Gugelman and her son, Bo Barrero. I'll let them share the why behind this incredible gift.
I'm Gretchen Gubelman.
I'm Bo Barrero. We worked together with the San Juan Preservation Trust to protect forever property here in the middle of San Juan Island. This piece of property was always really special to me because of all the memories and all the beauty that's here. After it was a done deal and taking those same walks felt totally different. I remember walking through and looking up at those trees and being like, oh my God, wow. It was an amazing feeling to feel like that this little patch of land was gonna have a chance to be an old growth forest again. You know, that was super, super powerful.
I don't think a day goes by that I don't talk to someone about how do we keep our heads up? How do we stay hopeful in this time? And that's one of the ways. I mean, to me, it's like you can make yourself feel better and you can do something for the earth by getting involved in conservation.
Being part of the Preservation Trust's efforts here has made me feel like I'm part of something larger. I'm in my mid-50s and it's, you know, it's dawning on me that I'm not going to be around that much longer, and already some of these trees are, you know, 150, 200 years old. And so this process has made me feel like I'm part of something timeless, something that can truly go on forever and bring so many people and animals and plants a lot of joy and love, and that feels really good.
Our special thanks go out to the Gugelmans for their contribution of the Wiseacre CE. Also to Helen Winkler for donating the Winkler Preserve on Guaymas, Molly Siliberti for entrusting us to protect her Sunny Point home on Stewart, and to the numerous contributors to the North Shore Preserve. As is our tradition, we will plant a Gary Oak sapling on a protected property in honor of this past year's generous landowners. At this point in time, I'm going to take a bit of a detour from celebrating past accomplishments to share a sneak peek into what we have cooking up. What I can share today is that we've another quite compelling conservation project in the works. It's a property that offers sweeping, unobstructed views of surrounding landscapes and vistas across the Salish Sea. It encompasses diverse habitats, including rolling meadows, mixed-age forests, and old-growth trees, and is home to rare prairie ecosystems, supporting native wildflowers and native plants and animal species. We cannot share all the details quite yet, as we're working through due diligence and the feasibility period. But if all goes well, we'll be launching the campaign to fund the purchase of this spectacular property this summer, with an expected closing in the spring of 2026. So please stay tuned. Okay, I'll get back to our accomplishments and now take you to the second C of our mission to care for the lands and waters under our protection with our partners. With more and more properties conserved each year, our stewardship responsibilities continue to expand. The majority of our lands are forested, thus, forest health is a top stewardship priority. Where appropriate, we're managing to old growth forest types through use of selective thinning and employing other strategies to improve the diversity and resilience of the land. Example forest health projects over the past year include staff partnering with the Island Conservation Corps to perform forest thinning on Lopez at our Beecher Preserve and on San Juan at our Hunter Preserve. A lot of folks are chipping in. From forest to prairie, we are also improving this habitat type. As you may be aware, prairie ecosystems have been disappearing for more than a century, and even preserved lands are losing their native character due to invasive species, overgrazing, and the absence of fire. We are working to reverse this trend. In this next video, you'll see a familiar face, Tom Pence, last year's Volunteer of the Year, and other member volunteers and staff restoring Gary Oak habitat at our Shooting Star Preserve on San Juan.
So what we're doing here is we're continuing with oak restoration that was started 20 years ago. It was the first restoration that was done across the side of Katy Mountain. And the idea was to remove a lot of the encroaching trees that were actually choking out the oak habitat. The oak habitat is important because it's such a keystone species in and of itself. It has not only the benefits of the single trees, individual oak trees, but all of the herbaceous plants that are associated with it, the birds, the insects, the mammals that are associated with the habitat. That's why we're doing oak restoration. In places where here we decided to go after these young Douglas fir that had encroached upon this habitat. If we didn't do that, the habitat would disappear. The idea is to try to save this habitat because it's so important. And so we're taking the young Douglas fir trees out of here, we're piling them up, we're then burning them to create biochar, which we can then spread across the site, which is not only for absorption of carbon dioxide, but also for release of nutrients into the soil, capturing of water, and we're trying to put it in places where it's going to benefit the soil that's remaining. So one of the things that we do, of course, immediately after we've taken out the young Douglas fir that were encroaching on the habitat, we've got bags of seeds that we can now plant of those herbaceous plants that normally would exist in the oak habitat. And that's exactly what we've done. We just scraped away some of the needles that were on the ground. We put in the new seeds and they should grow this next growing season. Another thing that we've done is we've planted oaks, but we've caged them. We've put them in wire cages, and that's to prevent the deer from browsing on them, because if the deer get a chance, they'll just nip it down and they'll form a little bush out of the tree instead of allowing the tree to grow large and do what it would normally do for the habitat. They'll just keep it in bush size and they'll just keep munching on it each year, unless we put the cages around. We realize that there may not have been this many oaks out here, but there's also a good possibility that a lot of those will die in the process of them aging. So we're trying to make sure that we have it fairly evenly spaced out there over the course of the habitat.
Our stewardship work would not be possible without our committed volunteers. We truly owe a debt of gratitude to all volunteers, members who are literally digging in. Our volunteer program continues to grow each year, and in 2024, we had over 190 volunteers contribute more than 1,000 hours. These are numbers from our work parties and preserve stewards. They do not include countless hours contributed by community members and board members that are not reported. Before sharing more about our Connect accomplishments, I'd like to take this opportune time to celebrate this year's Volunteer of the Year. The 2025 Volunteer of the Year is none other than Pete Kilpatrick. Pete served on the board since 2018, but this award is bestowed for service well beyond his board role. Pete's volunteer efforts in the past year are truly unprecedented. He transitioned from member of the board's office space committee to unofficial general contractor, painting, sanding, and sealing subcontractor, town liaison, roof climber, and donned many other hats along the way. His hands-on support in renovating our headquarters, his willingness to share his expertise in assessing and inspecting structures on just about every prospective conservation project that has any, and his commitment to our development efforts as the chair of our development committee have played a very vital role in shaping the future of the trust. Pete, thank you for being a cornerstone of our growth and success. We've got a short video that Pete has a few words to say.
Hi, I'm Pete Kilpatrick. I'm a board member of the San Juan Preservation Trust since around 2018. All my years, 50 plus years of living on San Juan Island, I've always put a big priority into volunteering. There are so many people that volunteer here. It really defines our community. And I think, as we see a decline in government services, volunteering is going to be more and more crucial to kind of maintaining our quality of living. My role model is Tom Pence, who I just try and keep up with, because he for years and years just goes to work every day as a volunteer and always finds something. So the focus of my volunteer work with the Preservation Trust has been based on building. I was a builder, contractor for 40 years, but spent most of my time in an office managing a big company. And now that I'm retired, I just love being a volunteer carpenter. I've been very involved with both the purchase and development of the new world headquarters for the San Juan Preservation Trust, including helping with design work, but also building office partitions, and it's been really fun. And one of the great things about doing volunteer work for the Preservation Trust is getting just the chance to get out and see the properties that we preserve, these beautiful, beautiful places, not just on San Juan, but on all the islands. It's just amazing. So I think as a theme this year, it's encourage everyone to find something that they can put some time into.
Pete, that was such a beautiful testament to volunteerism and to your deep connection over 50 years to this place. The connect aspect of our mission emphasizes such a reciprocal relationship between people and the land. This is realized through our volunteer program, educational outreach, and other special events to foster a sense of shared responsibility and belonging. By involving community in hands-on conservation and learning experiences, we seek to strengthen civic trust and the collective stewardship. We see the importance and have prioritized providing youth opportunities to engage with nature. Throughout the past year, students from several schools, including Shaw, Lopez, and the Orcas Public Schools, as well as Salmonberry Charter and the Spring Street International, explored and learned on SJPT protected lands through our Learning Landscapes program. Our thanks go out to the Dean Witter Foundation for helping us establish and grow the Learning Landscapes program over the last few years. Another way we engage with island youth is via support of the Youth Conservation Corps, managed by our partner at the Conservation District. In this next video, you'll see the YCC at work on our turtleneck preserve on Orcas just this past summer.
This summer, the Youth Conservation Corps joined the San Juan Preservation Trust on Turtleneck Preserve to help remove and reposition anti-deer cages around growing trees. The students' work follows in the footsteps of previous Preservation Trust adult volunteer groups and highlights what community-based land conservation and stewardship is all about. While hiking up to the preserve, the students also learned about the delicate ecology of rocky balds throughout Turtleback Mountain, providing a great opportunity to reflect on how their stewardship work is protecting broader ecosystems. Connecting with land and each other is one way that we can help to inspire the next generation of conservationists. And as the Youth Conservation Corps likes to say,
YCC is the way to be!
To conclude, it's clear that public access to nature preserves, especially for youth, is critical to fostering a culture of stewardship and meaningful connection and belonging. Connection to place is powerful, and it's how our work is and will be sustained in the long run. Over the past year, we've increased our engagement activities and will continue to do so. We're building on our successes, continuing the momentum of conservation despite the present strong headwinds. We are bracing ourselves for storms to come, and I have quite a literal example to share. The photos you see here are historical images of a storm surge overtaking the breakwater at Vendovi Island. While these images were taken some time ago, such instances are no longer a rarity. Over the last several years, stronger and more frequent winter storms have taken a serious toll on the breakwater and threatened to hamper our ability to fulfill our mission on Vendovi. Our work at Vendovi Island Preserve demonstrates the 3 C's: conserve, care, connect. It is the 3 C's in action. Acquired in 2010, Vendovi Island encompasses 217 acres of diverse ecosystems, including lush forest, wildflower meadows, 2.8 miles of pristine shoreline. Our acquisition of this island means that we will permanently protect it from development. We also care for the island's ecological health. Our efforts include habitat restoration, trail maintenance, and topically maintaining critical infrastructure. Vendovi is open to the public. It's open from April through September, offering visitors the opportunity to explore its trails, its beaches, and its very unique habitats. However, public access is being threatened by the deterioration of the breakwater, as I previously mentioned. Over the past few years, we've been consulting with experts and have lined up the permits to make the necessary repairs. But the repairs are going to be expensive. We now need your help to allow for the continued public access to the island. We are seeking donations of $280,000 towards the total project expenses that are well over $600,000. We were able to offset the total fundraising amount of the project by more than half, thanks to the very generous bequest of Joanne Otto, longtime supporter, GAN Society member, and member of our board. Sadly, Joanne passed away unexpectedly last year. Joanne loved Vendovi. In fact, she became involved with the Preservation Trust during our initial campaign to acquire the island. Over subsequent years, she was a champion for the island and for the importance of access, equity, and education. We are honored to utilize her bequest in this manner to allow the ongoing opportunity for the public to learn from and fall in love with Vendovi. Please feel free to take a snapshot of the QR code here, which will take you to the Breakwater campaign page where you can learn more about this project. And if you don't have a phone handy, no problem. The email will have the link with this content that'll be sent out after this presentation. Assuming we're able to fulfill the remaining fundraising, with your support, work will begin in early fall of 2026. As we continue our meeting, having reflected on this past year's accomplishments and having teed up what's next, it's also vital that we take a close look at how we steward your generous contributions that make this work possible. Today, I'm pleased to introduce someone who plays a central role in that responsibility, our treasurer, Eric Anderson. Eric will walk us through last year's financial overview and share insights into the Preservation Trust fiscal health, as well as how we employ the creative, many creative ways to move forward conservation funding. Eric?
Thank you, Angela. I'm here to report the Preservation Trust remains in good financial standing due to our investment strategy, donations from our members, and legacy gifts from forward-thinking donors in our GAN Society. Today, I want to share some of the key numbers with you that will hopefully paint the picture of how we all work together to preserve land in the San Juan Islands. The pie chart on the left is a simple view of the cash revenue we received in 2024. The total of $2.5 million in mostly unrestricted dollars that can go where we need the funding the most. The chart on the right is how we spent these funds strategically in 2024. I have 6 areas to note on expenses. First, the bulk of expenses are spent on stewarding the almost 20,000 acres we monitor and care for. Going around the circle, the San Juan Preservation Trust continues to put ourselves in the position to act swiftly when key properties come up for conservation, and that includes a professional staff, which makes up a lot of the expenses in each program. We have skilled conservation and acquisition staff ready to work on complex real estate deals. Commonly, we work on 10 or more projects at a given time over multiple years. Our core and fundraising. We employ communications, outreach, and education staff that connects our community to the work we do, and professional fundraisers who connect donors with the projects that need funding. In administration, we have a team of finance and operational staff that support these complex funding projects. The final piece of the pie are the land transactions that closed last fiscal year. The projects we work on are usually multi-year endeavors, and this number fluctuates year to year depending on when transactions close. Next slide, please. Now I would like to give you a look into these land transactions from a financial lens. On this slide, I will show you one particular project, the North Shore Conservation Easement on Orcas Island. You can see from the list of projects that this is just one property we worked to preserve in the last few years, and each project has its own complex financial makeup. The North Shore project was interesting because it had 5 different funding buckets to complete the conservation easement, starting with the San Juan Preservation Trust funds that were put down as soon as the property came to market. This initial down payment of $100,000 allowed us to secure our position as the buyer and to start the process of putting the deal together. Then, working with our financial partners at Northern Trust, we leveraged a loan against our investments to make this project happen before fundraising began. A creative solution that the Trust had never used before. The 3 other funding areas included private individual donation, private foundation support, and a large government grant from the Puget Sound Acquisition and Restoration Funding and the Salmon Recovery Funding Board. The Trust was able to secure this diverse funding and to manage the details of this transaction due to professional staff that we employ in their different areas of expertise. When conservation outcomes are sought after or become available, the San Juan Preservation Trust is ready to step in, act, put money down, fundraise, and partner. And thank you for your support. Now we're going to have some time for question and answers, and I will turn this over to our host, Kelvin.
Thank you so much, Eric. And we're going to start off with some financial questions here. We do have one question that would be really great, I think, for Angela to answer, and that is, how does reduced federal funding impact your work?
Thanks, Kelvin. There has been a lot of changes with this current administration. And at this point, and as you can see in 2024, the amount of government grants is a pretty small percentage of our total funding. We have at present one open grant with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. This is for our island marble butterfly work in prairie restoration. We feel pretty confident that the funding isn't at risk. It's a 2-year project. We're in a 2-year cycle, and we're in the 2nd year, so about half of the funding's already been released. That being said, we do think that it's going to be more difficult for us to continue this grant. It's a grant that we have received since 2016 every 2 years, but we're anticipating that in 2027 it may very well be more difficult for us. And we're looking at alternatives and believe that we could be competitive for a state grant for a similar restoration work. So we're ready to pivot. And fortunately, we have not had a major hit with all the changes in grants available.
All right, thank you, Angela. And we do have another financial question that came in, and I think this one would be good for you, Eric. And that is, how does SJPT ensure the financial stability, especially with current market conditions and volatility?
Thanks, Kelvin. Well, first, we have a diverse revenue stream. We have individual contributions, grants, and investment income that we take in every year. We also have proven history in successful fundraising over many years under very different economic climates. We also take a long-term view in our investment strategy. And for instance, we only draw about 4.3% of our investment income every year for our stewardship activities. We also maintain 6 to 12 months of reserves against all of our operating expenses. So we're in good shape today, and I think we have a good base for carrying us forward to weather whatever economic conditions are thrown at us.
Thank you, Eric. And we do have a question from the audience from Jeff Hansen. And Angela, I think this will be a good question for you. The question is, just a curiosity, what was the former use of the property building that is now SJPT World headquarters?
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff. This building had been used by a title company, Chicago Title. So it's actually a building I was pretty familiar with as we would go in to sign closing there, and they've moved right next door. And so it's right across the street from the courthouse. Previous to that, I believe it was a post office. So the building has been around for quite some time. It's cinder block, and from the inspector, who, when we were doing our due diligence, I heard it'll be around for another 150 years or so. So it's a good fit for us.
All right, and moving on to another question. I think this will be another good one for you, Angela. How does the San Juan Preservation Trust go about selecting properties for conservation? There's so many different properties in the islands. Each island is so unique. What is our conservation approach?
Thanks, Kelvin. So here at the Trust, we've had a strategic conservation plan for decades, and it was updated just a few years ago with the latest GIS layers. So there's a data approach where we have looked at all the available science, really, and looking at what are the areas of conservation, looking at habitat connectivity, looking at forested areas, old growth areas, wetlands, shoreline areas that have been undeveloped. These all have been reviewed and inputted into the program and into the plan. And so we can identify areas that have the highest conservation value. So that's a starting point for us, is to run it through our strategic conservation plan. Then we go out and do a site visit because we have to ground truth. So if there's a prospective project, we don't just rely on the numbers and how it shows up in our plan. We go out and see the property because there may be things missing in our plan. And so that is part of that due diligence. And we assess based on those conservation values that I mentioned about. And then it goes through what the threat level of that property is and our funding availability. So those are kind of the process in which we prioritize projects.
All right, thank you, Angela. And we do have one more question. And Eric, I think this will be a good one for you. In the last few annual meetings, you've presented climate scholarships to graduating high school seniors. Are you still offering those scholarships?
Kelvin, yes, we are still offering those scholarships. This year, the annual meeting was a little bit early versus the process of submitting scholarship applications to the schools. So in the next 2 weeks or so, we should come up with our finalists, and we will be presenting the scholarships at the local graduation ceremonies. We also plan to have our 2 scholarship recipients presented at our summer social in June. And we thankfully continue to hear very nice things back from our prior recipients on the work they're doing around climate change and environmental studies at their respective universities.
Thanks, Eric. And Angela, I think we've got time for one more question. It's a stewardship question. What changes are you noticing in the forests that the Preservation Trusts manage?
Great question, Kelvin. And I think it was actually a topic of last year's annual meeting. So I'm drawing on things that Dean has shared. It's really looking at our forests. Climate is changing. It is getting hotter. And we're seeing, certain winners and certain losers. There's changes in terms of a certain species. I believe it's the grand fir, western cedar are tending to die off in this increasing drier environment. And also things like our Gary oaks are adapted to warmer weathers. They potentially can do better in such a warmer, drier climate. So these are the types of changes that we're seeing on the ground.
All right, thanks so much, Angela, and thank you, Eric. We're now going to move on from the Q&A session, but if anyone has any burning questions that we didn't answer today, definitely feel free to contact us at info@sjpt.org and our staff will get back to you. Otherwise, if you go to our website, sjpt.org, up in the corner, you'll see a contact us section and you can fill out a form there where our team will also respond to you. And so feel free to reach out to us whenever you have any questions. And now I'm going to turn it over to our Director of Philanthropy, Kristen Buckley, for a few remarks here.
Thank you, Kelvin. And thank you also, Eric, for sharing our organization's financial information. Whenever I see those numbers, I really see all of you who have you're reflected in those numbers, the gifts that you've made and the partnership that you've formed with us. And when I hear the stories of our accomplishments over the last year, I really realize our collective impact. Whether you're a donor or a volunteer, when we join together, the islands benefit. On the slide that you're about to see, you will see the names of some of our departed friends. They're folks who made a gift to support our mission in the islands through a will or a trust, named us as a beneficiary of their IRA or of a different type of account. These are gifts that we've received over the last year, or we've been notified that the gift is in process. We're really grateful to this group. They're continuing to have a positive impact on the work that they cared so deeply about during their lifetimes. Their commitment and their caring lives on. Folks who do make a commitment of this nature through their estate, through their will, their trust, their IRA, they become members of our GAN Society. This is a group where we really enjoy being able to thank them while we have the opportunity. You're about to see their names scroll on the screen. These are all current members of our GAN Society who have all made provisions in their plans to support our mission and the islands in the future. You'll notice at the end of the scroll that there are 23 anonymous members. These are folks who have informed us, but that they wish to remain publicly anonymous. There's also a group you're not going to see on the list, and those are the truly deeply anonymous folks. These are people who have made provisions in their wills, but they haven't let us know. If this is you, or if you want information to be able to make plans for a future gift, please reach out. We're happy to help. We would love to welcome you to the GAN Society. We gather several times a year to socialize, for community. It's a wonderful group of like-minded individuals who have really made a tremendous commitment to the future of the islands. We will be having 3 events this summer, one in May, one in June, and one in July. We would love to welcome you to the GAN Society and to have you participate in these events. To all of our members, no matter how they're giving, whether it's, again, volunteering or donating land or conservation easement, we thank you. Your collective impact is truly creating a better future for the San Juan Islands. We are most grateful. And now I'd like to turn it back over to our board president, Barbara Rosencotter.
Thank you, Kristen. And thank you to everyone for attending. I have a few final notes for you, but first I would like to share a final thought. Once again, the mission of the San Juan Preservation Trust is to conserve the natural beauty, vital ecosystems, and unique character of the San Juan Islands for future generations, care for the lands and waters under our protection with our partners, and connect people to nature, to each other, and to the Preservation Trust. There was a report by the Natural Environmental Research Council titled Noticing Nature. They asked people to note 3 good things in nature each day for 5 days per week for 2 months. The results showed sustained and significant increases in connectedness to nature and also improvements in psychological health. It really is as simple as remembering to take a moment to pause, look, and listen, and make a note of the good things in nature that you notice. Your membership matters. Your support of the San Juan Preservation Trust is a gift for now, but primarily it is a gift for the future. We are committed to protecting and restoring special places forever, making a promise that the land will always be there for us, for our children, for their children, forever, in perpetuity. And that is a pretty long time. Thank you for your support of the trust now and for the future. So our final pieces as we finish up our meeting is to remind you that if you do have additional questions that you did not pose or did not get answered today during the meeting, please go to the sjpt.org website. There is a contact tab where you could send us a message with your questions and we will be happy to follow up. After this webinar, you will have an opportunity to take a brief survey about the meeting. We really do appreciate your feedback, so please fill it out to let us know your thoughts. If you don't have time to take the survey after the meeting, we'll be sending a follow-up email that will also have a link to the survey so you can complete it later. Also, in that follow-up email, you'll find links to a recording of the webinar and to the videos, those wonderful videos that Kelvin worked so hard on that you saw this evening, in case you'd like to replay any of them at your leisure. So that includes our business. The 2025 annual meeting is adjourned. Thank you again and have a wonderful evening.
You are the home I've never left but never been to. Like a father gone to war, I cannot reach you. Are you my memory? Are you my promise? Do you remember me, or are you conscious? Oh, great mystery, can I touch you? Guide my fingers to your wounds. For I've seen tricks and I've seen villains. Oh, the stench of their sweet perfume. Oh, great mystery, have I met you? Are you scarred like my sweetest friend?